we've got Friday through Sunday action for NWSL. Let's just take a quick rundown of these matches of what people can see over the course of the next 3 days. Portland Thorns versus OL Reign. It's going to be the first edition of the Cascadia Rivalry in the regular season. That's going to be kicking off on CBS Sports Network on Friday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Orlando Pride versus KC Current Saturday with the triple header, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Paramount Plus. Gotham FC versus North Carolina Courage also on Saturday, kicking off at 7 p.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus. Racing Louisville versus Houston Dash, closing out that triple header. Saturday kickoff at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find that one on Twitch. San Diego Wave FC versus Chicago Red Stars opens up the doubleheader on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and a dual kickoff time with Washington Spirit versus Angel City also at 5 p.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus. Let's talk about them, Lisa. Let's get ready to talk about these games and make a couple picks. Gunning for the top. We've got a number of teams. It's very, very early in the season, but we've got a number of teams that are trying to stay in that pretty position at the top of the table. Let's start with Portland Thorns versus OL Reign. Look, long-standing rivalry between these two Pacific Northwest sides. It's going to be a late one if you're on the East Coast. Right now, again, early, but number 2 in the standings for Portland Thorns. OL Reign at the near bottom at number 10, but you know, we're taking all this with a grain of salt. Again, we're talking week 3 action for the regular season. Anything can happen because it's going to be a long one this year in 2022. But when we're looking at these two teams going head to head this weekend, Lisa, who are you picking and why?
This is a really tough pick because Cascadia Rivalry, we know that in years past, history shows that these two teams, really anyone can take it given the day, whether it's home field advantage or being so hyped up that you're traveling and you're not at home and you want to take down Portland in their own stadium, whatever it may be. I think we have to look at the history of these two teams, recent history of OL Reign coming off of 3 games last week, and 3 games that really did not go in their favor because the Challenge Cup semifinal, a number of different calls there that didn't go their way. And as we talked about OL Reign playing against Racing Louisville in the second week of the regular season, we talked about how fired up Laura Harvey was going to be and this entire Reign squad because of how that semifinal went. Then OL Reign get dealt a 2-2 draw against Racing Louisville. One of the goals ending up being an own goal. There was a lot of discourse about this game and kind of how it all unfolded, which I just think the pressure is building in OL Reign. And with Laura Harvey, as soon as that game ended, the camera zoomed in on head coach Laura Harvey's face after that Louisville tie, and she looked pissed. And I don't blame her because this is an OL Reign team that is really good and really stacked, and they haven't been able to close out their recent games. And because of that, I think that they were able to take a turn, and maybe that this week is going to be a deep breath for OL Reign as they face their rivals in Portland Thorns. It's almost like status quo at this point because these two sides know each other so well, whereas OL Reign playing Washington in a semifinal and then Racing Louisville, that's a new side that they haven't seen yet this year. There's a lot of changes and a lot of differences. Meanwhile, Portland, they're coming off that 3-0 home win against Kansas City in the first week, and they've had nearly 2 weeks off. I mean, a bye week coming last week because their competition was playing in the Challenge Cup final. So a lot of time for Reen Wilkinson and Portland to get things generated and reset and reformat everything. Now, that being said, with Portland getting the bye week and OL Reign coming off 3 games in 1 week, I think I'm going to give this to OL Reign, but this is really tough for me. I could see a draw as well. I could see a draw in this one. I think Sophia Smith for Portland Thorns is going to show big in this game. She's had time to rest and recover, and she's a player that just loves to play. She got the 3rd goal for Portland in their match versus Kansas City. And Sophia Smith is someone that really wants to make a difference and an impact in this league. So I expect some big things from her, but honestly, I see OL Reign taking the win on this one. What about you?
I like the energy going around the Reign in this one as well. I think we're going to start off this episode going the same way. I know that we hear a lot about maybe extra time off being beneficial for some teams, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to ring true for a team like Portland. And there's something about seeing a Jess Fishlock-led Rainside go into Providence Park and take on the opposition, in terms of their known rivals. So it's always a very thrilling type of match. I think that OL Reign are just a little bit tired in a number of ways. They're coming off of a week or about an 8 to 9 day stead there where they had 3 games all at once. And now it's been a little bit of a regular week, I guess is what we could refer to it as, in terms of preparations for a fixture in front of them. And with the travel in this one, it's not that long. It's a little bit of a shorter one, so it's a little bit different in terms of these two teams and when they prepare to go head to each other. I mean, I was almost leaning for a draw in this one because, again, it's early. It's week 3. There's enough here where there's enough familiarity with each other. We talked about that. B, it's the fact that it's one of the longer standing rivalries in the league, and C, you have the two teams who are gonna be playing on CBS Sports Network. I think sometimes there's that little added component of, hey, this one's gonna be on cable, this one's gonna be on TV. Sometimes there's that little bit of piece that's in the back of your head. But for me, what was the X factor was some of the 4 things that you mentioned already. We're looking at these standings, and again, no one's really paying that close of attention to them right now this early in the league. But I think when you're a team like the Reign and you had set a certain standard for yourself, coming off of the match days that you have just gone through, you're going to want to try to get that W already in this regular season, no matter how early it is. So hopefully they are able to sort of get that off of their back and do it in a big way in a rivalry match. So I am also going with OL Reign in this one as well. Let's chat a little bit about this next match that we have for teams that are gunning for the top of the standings. We have San Diego Wave FC versus Chicago Red Stars. San Diego, number 1, sitting on top of the table, going up against Chicago Red Stars team that's sitting at number 4 right now. We chatted a little bit about how Portland had the time off due to some rescheduling of things due to the overlap between the regular season and the Challenge Cup. And Chicago Red Stars were the other team that had to go ahead and maybe do a little bit of rescheduling of their fixtures as well for the regular season. But sitting in the standings in terms of a position you want to be in that upper half of the table, but they're going to be going up on the road against a San Diego Wave FC side that is the team in the NWSL with 2 wins under their belt. And they've made Terrell Stadium out in the West Coast a little bit of a difficult place to play if you're the opposition who are coming in. So when I'm looking at the Chicago Red Stars, I think there's a number of questions here that are coming into play when we're looking at this team going on the road. So I think the biggest ones, right, I think are the injury concerns. Again, we're doing this preview ahead of official availability reports that are coming out via the league. However, there was some media availability with the Chicago Red Stars prior to us hopping on here. And head coach Chris Petroselli said that this week, coming up against San Diego Wave FC, Morgan Gautrat is still dealing with her calf injury. They're being cautious with that. You don't want something like that to turn into more of an Achilles issue. And with Mal Pugh, she had initially been out under concussion protocol. And though she is more active in trainings, getting more touches, Petroselli did mention that perhaps this week might be too soon to see the return of Mal Pugh, despite her getting more time in trainings with the club. So this is another scenario, Lisa, in which we might see this Red Stars team have to try to scrap out a result without some pretty key players in their lineup. So when we're looking at these two, I got to say, I think the time off might benefit this Red Stars team since they are going on the road. That's not a short road trip. This isn't like Portland versus the Reign. It's a little bit longer from Chicago to San Diego. And we have a Wave side that is coming off of a maddening type of result, right? This ridiculous lopsided win against Gotham FC where Alex Morgan put up 4 goals. And Petroselli also joking a little bit about how he hoped that maybe Nike is going to take her out on a photo shoot somewhere because she's going to be tough for them to target and pin. But that is someone who they are going to be tasking themselves and challenging themselves with in terms of keeping an eye on. So I'm going to say with this one, I think that San Diego is still going to pick up a result, but I think it's going to be a draw. I think these two teams are going to play out to a draw. Chicago, I think, has shown pretty early on that they are a pretty organized team that are frustrating to play against. And I think they're going to rely a lot on their defensive organization and their shape in this match. Who's going to get the goal? I'm not too sure, but who knows? I would love to see it be maybe a narrow scoreline, 1-1 versus maybe a 0-0 scoreline. But I think this one has the makings of a draw.
I like the picks for not just a draw, but a 1-1 draw, because I see that as well. I'm going to go with a San Diego win in this one. And I had a lot of push to go for a draw, but the way that San Diego has been playing, I mean, they've played Houston and Gotham, not the strongest competition throughout the Challenge Cup, whereas Chicago defensively, as you said, so structurally organized. However, San Diego leads the regular season in goals with 5. They lead the league in chances created with 23 in their 2 games, but only 1 assist, and 4 of those goals coming from Alex Morgan in that Gotham game. So there's really like one-sided attack we're seeing from San Diego. However, they have 2 shutouts. They've come away with 2 clean sheets in their regular season games. So defensively, I think San Diego actually has a lot there, because they have Caitlin Sheridan in goal. They have Dahlkemper and Germa. Like defensively, San Diego could hold down a team. And I don't think we're going to get the best attacking performance from Chicago due to the lack of availability from a player specifically like Mallory Pugh. And playing at home, I think I give San Diego the upper hand in this one. But if it's a draw, I'm honestly not going to be surprised, but I take San Diego staying at the top of the standings, 3 points, 3 weeks in a row, just rack them up to 9. I mean, Alex Morgan, maybe she'll get a hat trick. She won't quite go for 4, but maybe she'll go for the 3 this time.
I like it. I don't think it's unfair to take all that into consideration and go with San Diego, but I think it might come down to a goalkeeper battle. We've got 2 good ones in this one, so we'll see. That's what pushed me the other way towards a draw. Let's talk about our final matchup during this gunning for the top segment. We're going to chat a little bit about Washington Spirit versus Angel City. Washington coming up as the Challenge Cup runners-up, the number 3 seed right now in these standings. Angel City, number 6. Their first game on the road. Angel City having a back-to-back homestead to kind of kick off their regular season. Lisa, when we're looking at these two teams who are gunning for the top, who are you picking and why?
I love this battle, and the fact that Washington gets to stay home, as you mentioned, Angel City going on the road to Audi Field to play a really good Washington Spirit team. Washington's coming off that tough Challenge Cup final loss against North Carolina. A bit of a battle there, lots of high emotions throughout that match as well. And Angel City is coming off a really narrow 1-0 loss to Orlando that they suffered at home. A really early goal from Sydney Leroux, and then Angel City had so much of the possession, so much of the power throughout the rest of that game. This game is going to be really good. I'm really excited to watch it and see how players like June Endo, Savannah McCaskill, Danny Weatherholt in the midfield for Angel City can go against a Washington Spirit midfield that controls a lot of the game. The front 3 for Washington, or 4 even, because I'm going to throw Anna Helferty into that mix with Rodman, Hatch, and Sanchez. They're really difficult to control and to maintain. And depending on availability reports for Angel City's backline, if Ali Riley is still out for COVID protocol, I hope she's not though, and I hope it was more just protocol and she's not actually sick, that Angel City has a better chance of controlling them. However, that front line for Washington is quick and they're dynamic and they love to have fun and play soccer. Because of that, I'm going to give Washington the upper hand in this one. Angel City, they might get a goal. I honestly see like a bit of a shootout here in like a 2-1 to Washington. Although Aubrey Bledsoe, I hope she's doing all right after she got a bit of a knock to the head in the Challenge Cup final. But a big game from her coming up against Angel City and Kristen Press, namely. But yeah, I'm going to go Washington in this one. I'm even going to put a scoreline on it, 2-1 to Washington.
Okay, I respect that. I think that's fair. I'm with you though on this one. I'm looking at these two teams and I'm leaning towards Washington Spirit in this one as well. I think they've got a lot of great pieces there. They've been navigating this early part of 2022 without somebody like an Andy Sullivan in the mix of their midfield, and we'll see if she's available for this type of match. But even without her, they've been putting together some pretty strong performances. The attack in their sort of trio between Sanchez and Hatch and Rodman has been active. They've been producing. And I just think being at home, going up against an Angel City side that we're starting to see break out a little bit. They're starting to see games against teams that they did not face in their West region. So they are facing up against teams that they don't necessarily have familiarity with. And we're starting to maybe see this team get a look, get runs out, and trying to figure things out on the pitch. And when you're an expansion side, you start to see as you play more experienced sides, teams that have been together, especially a team like the Spirit, who are coming off a championship run, things can kind of be a little bit different or a little bit tricky to unlock, when you're going up against a team like that for the first time. So it is because of that I'm going to be leaning towards Washington Spirit in this one. I do hope it is a scoreline like 2-1. I like what we're seeing in the build-ups for Angel City. We're just not seeing the end product there. So hopefully we get to see it in this one. But I'm also going Spirit against Angel City in terms of our picks.